Good morning, y'all, and welcome back to the channel, and welcome to my special guest again. You guys will know who he is.
How y'all doing? I missed you.
Today we're gonna be part-time mechanics again, but we're not just working on a Ford. Today we're working on a Dodge as well.
Let's roll up our sleeves and get after it.
But don't worry, nothing is actually wrong with the Dodge or the Ford. We're just doing maintenance. We have oil changes and fuel filters to do. And yesterday, when I got off of work, I called up to the Ford dealership because I was lazy and I wanted to get my oil change done and my fuel filter done, because now you guys know that I'm ranching. Well, every day I actually pull more weight than I've ever pulled with the RV, and you can tell on how quickly the oil change indication is coming back up. So I called up to Ford and said, hey, can you fit me in? And they said, sure, come on up here. And I said, how much is it? They said $375 for an oil change and a fuel filter change. And I said, you know what? Let me think about it. I immediately drove to O'Reilly's and I bought all the parts. I think I spent $180 for all my oil change equipment and my new fuel filter kit. And I said, hey, Phil, let's go work on the Ford again. He goes, what are you doing? I said, I'm gonna change the oil. And he goes, I think the old Dodge needs an oil change too. So we loaded back up, we went back to O'Reilly's, and we got all the things that Phil needs to change the oil in his truck. We spent $49 to get all the stuff for Phil's truck, and he said normally with the coupon, it still cost him $70 to get the oil change in this truck. So today, me and Phil are gonna show you guys how to save some money by doing general maintenance on your vehicles yourself.
Believe it or not, every now and then, the old Dodge needs a little tender loving care.
All right, Phil. Step one, hold the camera for me while I talk to y'all. You don't look at me,
Whoa.
Look at me. I mean, you can say hi to him, say hi to him.
I can't tell if I'm in the screen, but how are y'all?
All right, so first step up, we're doing the fuel filters because the truck's hot and I don't want to touch hot oil. We have this one right here, which is your water separator filter. New gasket for that. And you have the fuel filter that's under the hood. We're gonna start with this one because it's the easiest one to do. Because this one right here can be a little tricky because it has fancy little clips that can either come off really easy or they can not come off easy. Hey y'all, I'm under the truck again. So the first step is you have to find the water separator filter, which is right here, tucked in the side of the fuel tank. Diesel tank for those of y'all that can't handle fuel tank. First thing we're gonna do, we're gonna open this up and drain the fuel out of it. Ooh-wee. Come on, diesel. Man, that's got to be like $4 or $5 of diesel, the way diesel prices are nowadays. There's a lot more diesel in that filter housing than I thought there was. This is going on for a while. I know it's not going to drain the tank, but when it goes on this song, it kind of makes you wonder, is it draining the tank? Hasn't slowed down yet. It's been going for a while. Now that that's done, we're going to close that off so we don't forget. We're going to disconnect our water and the fuel sensor, and then we have 5 8mm bolts we're going to take out, and this thing will drop down. It's out. This is what it looks like. It's important to remember which way it goes in, but really you can't put it in backwards because one side has 3 bolts and the other side only has 2. So really it's just one way matters. And when you put it in, you see these little arrows right here, an arrow pointing that way to remove, arrow pointing that way to install. So when we want to remove this, we're going to slide the filter assembly this way and it'll come out. Oh, just like that. That was easy. All right, next up, we're going to take this gasket out and replace it. That was easy as well. While we're at it, we're going to look in there to make sure there's nothing weird, like, you know, metal shavings and contamination, and it looks really, really good. So we're going to go ahead and spray some brake clean in there, clean it out, and then we'll start assembling it again. We've cleaned it out. It looks good. Now we're going to put the new gasket on. Make sure it gets pressed all the way down in there. It's just a pressed gasket. Just like that. There's a high spot right there, high spot right there. There we go. Now it's time to put the new element in. There's our tabs. Install goes that way. So we're gonna set it right in here. Like that, and then there you go. It's installed again. Now all we do, put it back on the truck and tighten those 5 bolts back up, hook our water sensor back up, and then we're gonna fill the system with fuel again. And it's all back installed, and we're done with that step. Phil, what are you doing? Let me guess. Can y'all guess what Phil's up to? Well, I've been working, which hasn't been long. Phil has had time to go find a cup of coffee and a chair.
You know, this chair just wrapped me up when I didn't even want to sit down. Y'all know I hate that.
Well, good news, Phil. I'm already done with half the job on the fuel system. So it doesn't take that long. You know they charge you over $100 in labor for what I just did in the time that you got that cup of coffee?
We're in the wrong business.
The first step before we move on to the filter under the hood, we're gonna purge the system. And in order to do that, you just turn the truck on. Don't start the truck, just turn the truck on. So for me, with the remote start, just one press. And you can hear, it's gonna start running. Hear it right there? It's running fuel into the empty cavity. And you do that, there it goes, you hear it? So now it's purging the system. It's getting all the air out and filling the system up. We also want to make sure there's no leaks with our new gasket, and that we make sure we close the drain valve, because otherwise there'd be diesel all over the ground right now. And Ford says you do this 6 times for 15 to 20 seconds. You can hear when the air's out, like right now, the air just left. We're gonna go ahead and repeat it 5 more times, just to be safe.
Oh, you're doing me?
You're doing me. You're supposed to help me. Hey y'all, Phil's still learning how to do this camera thing. Now that we're done with the one under the truck, we're gonna do the one under the hood. Come on, Phil, let's show them. So this one has 3 lines that you have to, you know, be a magician to get off. It's sometimes they're easy, sometimes not so much. You have to be able to know how to work it. Well, that one wasn't terrible.
Yeah, I had a talk with it, said don't be terrible.
Look at that. Oh, let's put some diesel on the motor. You know what? I'm gonna get our rag. You hang tight, Phil.
Folks, he had to go read that manual back there to see what to do next. I could have told him.
Yeah, we just need to make diesel not spill all over the place. I forgot there is some that's gonna come out of these lines. All right, there's that one. This one right here. And it's a puzzle too. You have to do it in a certain order, otherwise you can't get to them. There you go, there's that one. And it makes you're afraid. You're afraid because they're plastic. And they have all these clips on them. You're like, man, I feel like I'm gonna break it. And there's this one. This one can be the trickiest one, the green one. You gotta pull back twice. And there you go. I don't know why Ford does this. They're all 3 different. Like every single one of them is different. Whoop.
What was that?
I don't know. Science.
She's talking to you saying I'm thirsty.
All right, hang tight.
All right. Hang tight is my middle name, in case y'all were wondering. But I'm on the ready. If he needs my help, I'll go get somebody and we'll get him some help.
All right, Phil. We got it halfway. There you go. Just need a little extra
leverage.
Flathead. Yeah, leverage.
Leverage.
Leverage intensification.
Yeah.
All right, then you just turn it.
Look at there.
And then you just throw this in the trash, right?
Now you got to pull the fuel out.
No, we're actually gonna take it back to O'Reilly's and get rid of it. I just wanted to see what you would say, Phil.
I don't really know.
No, we're not gonna throw diesel in the trash. This is probably like $1 worth in here.
I didn't know this was going to be a test, and I have to have an answer ready. Of course, I got an answer. It's probably the wrong one, but don't tell him that.
I heard you.
Oh.
All right, so repeat the process.
Reverse engineer. In with the new, on with the lines. Oh, you're supposed to be saying all that.
Well, I'm already halfway done.
I can't even talk fast enough to keep up with him.
Oh, man. Don't close on me. The tab closed before I got there. All right. They charge you $100 between both of them. Probably 11 minutes of work, honestly. I know the video has video things, but it's probably really real life 11 minutes of work, $100. Now we have to go ahead and purge this one like the last one, and then we'll start it up, make sure no leaks are all good.
Wow, that about made me tired, fans. I'm glad we're through with that little bit of it. Y'all stay tuned.
We're polishing this little mess you made. I didn't make it. While we're here, let's go ahead and get these leaves. I don't know. You hear that?
I hear it.
Here comes that air getting out.
That sounds like a Ford going down the road.
There you go.
I had to get my shot in.
You know, Phil, I wish you would cut these trees down at your house. Because you're putting leaves, somehow you're putting leaves under my hood. Hey, Phil.
Oh, it's on.
It is on, Phil.
All right.
All right, we're done purging. Now we're gonna start it up and make sure it runs.
All right. This is the moment of truth, fans.
Ready, Phil?
Get it. Whoa. Y'all hear that?
All right, we're successful at changing the fuel filters. Time for the oil. What are you doing? Uh-huh.
I got a guitar, and that pick right there would probably do it in. I think I'll just tote that home with me.
I'm over here working and Phil's trying to walk off with tools.
It's like being at the shopping center. Just pick out what you want and put it in your pocket.
You wouldn't even know what to do with that. You'd probably lose that before you got to the house anyway.
I bet I could put it on YouTube and figure out what to do with it. Say, what is this thing?
How many quarts do you think are in this truck?
Enough to fill it. Probably, if I was guessing, because I don't know, 8.
Well, so you think it has one more quart than your Dodge?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's wrong. It's got 13.
13. That's like hitting an oil well under there.
So we can't really use our drain pan because that's not big enough. So I got this 5-gallon bucket because we got to catch a lot of oil. Well, bad news.
What is that?
The bucket doesn't fit underneath the truck without hitting the truck.
Does that mean
it does. It's close, but I don't think it's going to work.
Can we cut off some of the rim on the bucket?
We need the capacity.
Oh, we need capacity.
We need capacity. I don't want to have to try to stop it halfway and then have you go drain it, because we have nothing to drain it into, because we need the empty buckets of new oil so we can drain it into there to take it back to O'Reilly's. So right now we have no way. Well, I can hand the bucket to you and you can drain it into that, maybe. I sure wish you could be under here with me.
Man, there ain't room but for one body, and I guess since you're under there, go in and continue.
Here we go. We don't have much room, and I don't really feel like jacking the truck up to do this because, well, it's very wet out and things just, it's not great because it's been raining here in Texas. Literally, we've gotten enough rain in the last week for like the entire year. So I'm gonna go ahead and get that off. I know from past experiences when I do that, it actually shoots all the way out here. It misses the thing every time, it doesn't fall down. So I'm gonna set you guys up. If I can turn, I can't turn, sorry. I can't even turn under here. Oh man, y'all aren't gonna be able to see. You're gonna be too tall. You're gonna be too tall like the bucket. Oh man. Sorry guys. Y'all aren't gonna be able to see this. I can't figure out how to get the camera to watch, and I can't hold you, so see you in a minute.
How's it going under there, Kevin?
We got a situation. I didn't move fast enough. The board has been preserved a little bit, if you know what I mean. The board I'm laying on, it's gonna last a little longer now. There was some oil that did not get captured, but it's on the board now, so you're good. Also, this thing drains a lot faster than the pan can accept it. It's an ordeal. It's black.
Yeah,
it's been working. I bet yours is brand new still. You know Dodge don't work. It's also hot.
Is it?
We've been letting it cool down, but man, it is still a little on the warm side.
I didn't know before it run that long enough to get hot. Kevin just informed me that that filter did what it's supposed to do. You can hand tighten it, maybe a little tug on it, and it came loose. If y'all remember in the previous video, we had a little bit of trouble with one of those oil filters.
Well, Phil, we didn't actually show that part. That's how bad it got, because that was my mom's truck. You tell them what happened with that oil filter.
Well, we gave it the old tug. That didn't work. So the next thing we tried was the old drive a screwdriver through it and give it a tug. That didn't work. Things were getting serious. We had one more go-to.
A giant pair of channel locks. Giant pair of channel locks.
I mean a big pair. And thank goodness for us, it finally gave. All it needed was just a little bit of a break loose. So if you're ever doing an oil filter, people, you just got to put them on hand tighten a little bit more. That's it. Now when you're installing a new oil filter, Kevin, you want to tell them the first thing you need to do before you put it on?
No, you can tell them, Phil. They'll listen to you.
If you look at that new filter, it's got a gasket around it. If you'll take some of that old oil and put it on your finger and just dampen the darn filter before you put it on there, it'll save you a lot of headaches.
Would you say a little dab will do you?
Yeah, a little dab will do you, baby.
We're all done here, folks. This thing managed to hold all of it somehow. It's real full, by the way.
Okay.
This is going to be a mess that future us has to deal with in a few minutes. This thing holds 16 quarts.
Wow, they planned on that.
I can tell it was getting full because the vent started burping. Guess where it burped to? All over me.
All over you.
Hey, Phil.
Hey, was that out with the old and now we're in with the new?
It is. Good old Motorcraft oil.
Motorcraft.
You know, if it's good enough for them from the factory, it's good enough for us when we're using it.
He pouring dinosaur remains in it, huh?
It is dinosaur remains.
That's what I was thinking. I wasn't positive about it. Y'all didn't know I was that smart, did you?
New oil smells so good.
Yeah.
Maybe that's just the oil field in me. New oil smells so good.
Because the space is not big enough under there, I'm having to sit out here and film. It's hard work. Kevin, you know, he's got the hard job. All I got to do is just sit out here and laugh and tell stories, I guess.
Just be you, Phil. Just be you.
Just be me. That's all I can be.
We're getting close.
Hey, you know, I think my wife wishes I could be somebody else sometimes.
You mean like a guy that could do this kind of thing?
Yeah. It took me years and decades to convince her that I could do absolutely nothing. But I'm there now, people. I'm useless.
She's gonna see it on camera. You've seen it once, like the oil field saying. If you've seen it done once, you're now an expert.
I've also got amnesia, and I don't remember how to do it.
Well, that's a little long. Way down there.
Feel like an oil driller, don't you?
We're still going.
What do you think, boss man?
Says we're good, but I'm gonna let it settle a little longer.
I guess these are just like in the old days. You have to put the oil in there and then crank it up because you used about a quart more.
Yeah, you let it settle. Crank it up and recheck it. Like right now, it says we're good.
Okay.
So we're gonna crank it up, let it run for a few minutes. No, not a few minutes. About 30 seconds. And then we're gonna check it again. We're just checking to make sure that the oil plug and the filter are good, because right now they'd be pouring oil out the bottom of the truck. I've done that before in high school. Did that one time. It was not pretty. My dad was not happy. Man, have you ever heard the noises this truck makes when you turn it off? Look at it, it's still doing noises. What are you doing up here?
Sound like a dog been running 100 miles.
Every time I turn it off, you never hear it with the hood open. I mean, the hood closed, but so far every time we turned it off, there's like a whole lot of shutdown things going on up here.
How's our oil looking?
We're right in the middle, so we're gonna top it off just a little more.
All right.
We're gonna give it a little more.
A little dab of do you?
A little dab will do you.
There you go.
A little more.
This is just an observation that I've noticed. This is the Ford truck, diesel, big one. I'm looking under the hood. You can't get a hand down in there to work on nothing. Over here, we've got my Dodge. I want y'all to observe the room and relaxation you could have in on this one. And in case y'all are wondering, that's not a small engine. They just increased the capacity that this hood would have to go to cover this thing, and you could just about stand up in there.
Every time we talk about your Dodge, people like to point out that it's called a Ram because it says Ram on the front.
I didn't want to scare y'all saying Ram all the time, but he's right. It's a Ram, baby.
We all know it's still a Dodge.
Kevin's under the Dodge now.
Barely.
Barely. Let me show you.
Barely under the Dodge.
I don't know if my belly fit under there or not. Anyways, he just broke loose that oil filter that should be hand tight.
No, it was the drain plug.
Oh, the drain plug is way tighter than it needed to be.
They didn't want it falling off. Hey, Phil.
Yeah.
You know how good Dodge is?
How good?
They put the oil filter above your steering stuff, so when it drains, it runs all over your rack and pinion, or whatever you call this, electric assist steering. Good job, Dodge. Let's put the oil filter above stuff.
I guess Dodge had a self-oiling differential or whatever that thing is under there.
It's your steering. I would call it a rack and pinion, but it's electric assist. There's a motor down here that gets covered in oil when you pull the filter off. That's what it's doing right now. I'm lubricating your electric motor with used motor oil for your steering.
Do you charge extra for that lubrication?
Maybe it's a Dodge, or they know you won't grease it, so they'll go ahead and make sure it gets greased on its own. All right, guys, we're almost done with this job. I will say, y'all could have put the oil filter in a better place on this Dodge, because it covers all the steering stuff with oil when it drains. It's not a good place, Dodge. That's why you'll always be a Dodge. No matter what you call yourself, you can put Ram all over this thing, but you're still doing Dodge things. I will admit, Dodge has an awesome motor in that Hellcat. And I also love how they put a Hellcat in literally everything they own. I'm surprised they don't have a Hellcat Grand Caravan, because they've Hellcated everything else. I wonder how much longer that's gonna last. You know they're cracking down on those EPA standards. One day Dodge is gonna have to start playing the game of making electric vehicles like everybody else. But for right now, I give them credit. Hellcat the world. Everything's got a Hellcat. What engine do you want? We got this one to make 707 horsepower. Put it in there. Done. Well, that's going to just about do it for this old Dodge. 7 quarts. Now time to start it up. Check the level. Well, that's that, Phil. Now we have new oil in this, new oil in that, new fuel filter in that, and we're done with our maintenance for the day.
Man, you're lickety split. We hadn't been here long, fans.
I know, we only were here for an hour and a half. I could spend an hour and a half with Phil, and we saved ourselves probably 250 bucks by doing it ourselves.
Can y'all believe that? I'm worth 250 bucks.
Anyway, guys, I have to run now because I have to go back to ranching. This was my middle of the day break because on the weekends we just feed in the morning and feed in the evening. But this evening I'm taking the girls and possibly Alicia and Caden to go meet all the horses and the ranch stuff.
It's gonna be giddy up time at the farm. Now this is just an observation, and this is for observation purposes only. This is the Ford truck, what it looks like under the hood.
Yeah, if you gotta talk to them, you gotta hold it further away. So now start talking to them. They can't see, when you're like this, no, all they see is your face.
Yeah.
You gotta let them see your whole face.
Okay. This is just an observation that I've noticed. This is the Ford truck, diesel, big one. I'm looking under the hood.
You have to let them see, Phil. The camera's pointing at the sky.
Oh.